In the forest, you're a lone plane crash survivor who finds themselves on an island inhabited by some very hungry cannibalistic tribes, and later, mutants. While fending off hordes and trying to survive, you're also tasked with finding your lost son, Timmy. This means delving into a lot of treacherous caves and regularly putting yourself into terrifying and risky environments. The forest intertwines survival with horror and has a rather neat, optional narrative to embark on too. Like a lot of the survival games on this list, the forest truly shines when played alongside friends. Friends are also great for dealing with cannibals and mutants so that you don't have to, if you're able to convince them to take on the task. If you like the idea of delving into the survival horror experience, but don't fancy being chased down by wailing cannibals like in the forest, Don't Starve is for you. This beautifully illustrated title, that is eerily reminiscent of Tim Burton's style, takes the form of a 2D top-down world that is packed with danger. As a survival game, the most important aspect of Don't Starve is surviving. This means you won't be concentrating on building your first base and fleeing from danger, but you'll be finding ways to actively face and overcome it instead. As a result, you'll find yourself crafting and using contraptions galore to keep enemies from harming you as you navigate this sepia world. Don't Starve feels so whimsical, and this is through a combination of art and gameplay. You start with little to no knowledge of this fantastical but dangerous realm, and so much of the fun is derived from discovery and learning. Additionally, if gathering resources and fending off werpigs alone seems daunting, Don't Starve Together is the multiplayer version of the game, and is arguably one of the best co-op games out there. Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey is a third-person open-world survival game where you explore, expand, and evolve to advance your clan to the next generation in this exhilarating adventure from Panache Digital Games. Embark on the most incredible odyssey known to humankind: human evolution. Spanning from 10 million to 2 million years ago, begin your journey, before us, in Neogene period Africa. Explore a beautiful yet ruthless world, from swinging through tree branches in the jungle to stalking prey across the golden savanna grasslands. Decide what attributes to learn and hone in order to pass down knowledge to future generations, from crafting tools to enhancing evasive tactics against predators. Just like real life, make sure to eat, drink, and sleep to stay alive and have the energy to face any danger that may come your way. Grow your clan and find strength in numbers as you progress through critical, evolutionary stages of human evolution. Your choices will write your clan's story and determine if you can survive your evolution. Most medieval titles focus on knights or lords, but in medieval Dynasty, it focuses on the common man. Or in this case, a common man in you. You are someone who has fled from the wars of the medieval world you live in and just want to try and build up your own home and community to try and live a peaceful life. You'll start out with nothing and learn skills over time as you grow, build, and expand what is yours. Grow a family, build a community, and expand to the lands all around you. Go on quests, explore the world itself, and survive to make your own dynasty. Project Zomboid has been in early access for over a decade now, and there's honestly no telling if it'll ever leave. That being said, the Indie Stone is continually updating and developing the game, and it's getting to a point where many fans are referring to the title as the best zombie survival game ever made. In Project Zomboid, you're dropped into another post-apocalyptic scenario, and your only task is to survive. With a horde of the undead on your tail, it's a little easier said than done in this sandbox simulation title, especially as you still have various survival needs to tend to. That's not all either, as there's weather to take into account too, which will present you with entirely new challenges. What makes Project Zomboid stand out among other zombie survival titles is the sheer attention to detail and how immersive this can make the game. The title recently peaked and found a much wider audience with the release of Build 41 and popularity among streamers, and it deserves it. There's something very special about Project Zomboid and the decade of dedication that the Indie Stone has put into it. If players want a simple survival game with Stone Age tendencies but modern equipment, then Subsistence is the game. There are no supernatural threats here, just the usual human doubt and greed. Players must defend themselves against wildlife, nature, and AI hunters who also behave the same way as they do. It's a pure sandbox setup where players can even build their own communities and develop their mini-communal civilizations. It's similar to Rust but with less wackiness and with more available modern technology. The game is also famed for its difficulty as it often tries to simulate real-world rules. Unreal World is a unique combination of roguelike role-playing game and survival simulation set in the far north long, long ago. Throughout the years, Unreal World has been praised for its depth, realism, atmosphere, and immersion. The game is completely open-ended and you decide whether you wish to lead a life of a fisherman, a hermit searching for the peace, a brave adventurer, a rough hunter, a trapper, or a tradesman. As a member of one of the 9 different cultures, you'll enter a detailed and enchanting Iron Age game world in which northern folklore, knowledge, and way of life play an important part. The world and mechanics of the game are highly realistic, rich with historical atmosphere, and emphasized on survival in the harsh ancient wilderness. Green Hell is all about authentic survival in the Amazon rainforest. It's a much more realistic version of the forest, meaning no mutants or cannibals. All you have to contend with in this game are the hostile Amazon locals, wild animals, parasites, and the non-living forces of nature. You have to appease for your macronutrient requirements, water, fats, carbs, protein, by hunting and foraging and even checking how many leeches you have on you from time to time, as well as building shelter or other tools to increase your lifespan in the jungle. It's essentially Far Cry, but without the guns or action movie nonsense. Don't let the simplistic design of RimWorld fool you. This is a survival title that'll keep you entertained for as long as you let it. Arguably, RimWorld focuses a lot more on narrative than survival itself, but it still makes for a totally unique experience every single time. If you're not familiar with RimWorld, this indie gem places you in a procedurally generated alien world, and it's down to you to oversee the colony living there. There's also an AI narrator who'll regularly spice things up, and they can make your experience as easy or as difficult as they'd like. This means that as you expand your base, anything could happen: the attack of aliens, the outbreak of disease, and more, all completely at the peril of the narrator. It doesn't stop there either, as every colony you create can be wildly different. There are different scenarios and narrators to choose from for each run, and if you fancy it, there's a breadth of mods out there to spice up this nifty management title further. You'll never know what turn the game will take next. You just need to be prepared to keep your colony alive. Neo Scavenger is a game where you must survive in the wasteland long enough to figure out who you are. Each turn, you must decide where to go, how to scavenge for supplies, and how to deal with anything and anyone you encounter. And with each passing minute, the pit in your stomach grows, your dehydration worsens, your muscles tire, and your body temperature drops in the cold autumn air. Choose your starting abilities carefully, because they and your wit are the only tools you have in the apocalypse. One doesn't need to look far into fiction in order to find survival game inspirations. Our very own dark history of warfare has often given birth to real-life survival situations. This War of Mine explores that dark notion in human history. The game takes place in a modern fictional war-torn Eastern European city where a group of civilians gets trapped during an ongoing siege. You must then manage their food, health, mental well-being, and resources so they can outlast the raging war. In short, it's a more depressing version of The Sims where instead of made-up problems, the civilians in this War of Mine might actually die of real-life ordeals and aftermaths of war. This is one of the few survival games out there which fully captures the emotional and mental taxes of actual survival. Take it as a lesson in human suffering 101 and get ready to receive more psychological scars. Most survival games in this list make the actual act of surviving look fun and sterilized. In reality, it's often lonely, hopeless, and cold. After all, you're pretty much devoid of all the comforts you had and you simply can't build a new home just by smashing some trees together. The Long Dark understands that you can't have nice things realistically, so they don't hand it over to you like you're Robinson Crusoe. Instead, the Long Dark makes you trudge through endless snow, ghost towns, and bleakness. The only other sentient life you'll find in droves are hungry wolves who are in the same circumstance as you are. Despite how desperate the situation is in the Long Dark, it still makes you feel like you're in a post-apocalypse or climate disaster movie, meaning you'll want more of it after getting a taste of what true survival feels like. The Flame in the Flood is a roguelike survival adventure game that follows a young girl named Scout who is traveling down a river after a flood destroys most of humanity. Being a roguelike survival game, players will want to aim for progressing through the game without dying, otherwise they will lose precious equipment and valuables. However, there is a checkpoint system, so instead of starting completely over and attempting to regain resources, players can choose to start from a previous checkpoint. Few apocalypse survival sims manage to capture the actual intensity and desperation of trying to survive in a wasteland. That's why Frostpunk is a whole new world of pain and depression even for those used to apocalypse games. Frostpunk showcases the plight of the survivors of a climate apocalypse where the world is plunged into sub-zero temperatures, forcing most of life to die in the white void. You lead a community of survivors as they try to scavenge, rebuild, and sacrifice their way into preservation. Frostpunk introduces new survival mechanics never before utilized in any video game. By the end of a story playthrough, you'll be feeling the chill and the heartlessness of its wasteland. DayZ, one of the biggest open-world games, bears multiple similarities to Rust. From base building and open-world looting to intense PvP encounters and survival mechanics, DayZ is a great option for Rust fans, especially when considering that DayZ has some great mods available. The main difference is that DayZ's PvE is much more threatening due to the addition of zombies.